joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KRN. That's 501-403-5276. If you'd like to be a part of the discussion as we talk about all the things that we're going to talk about today. Quick reminder, we've got the sweet deals went live this morning at 9 a.m. With Riviera Maya. 2 locations, one down there by the Bass Pro Shops and one at 801 Fair Park. So all kinds of places. They got a full sports bar at the Bass Pro location. They've got their, of course, famous margaritas and made-from-scratch Mexican cuisine. So $25 gets you 50 there, so make sure you get in that deal before they're all sold out. I just looked a few minutes ago, there was still a couple of left, so I don't think they're sold out just yet, but they don't usually last very long. So 501-403-KRN is the phone number, like I said, 501-403-5276 to talk about the things that we are going to talk about outside of the, of course, Riviera Maya. But I just logged in, they're sold out. There was literally just a few left a few minutes ago, and they're already sold out. So I apologize. Have to wait till the next time they come around. The $25 gets you 50. This is why the sweet deals are so great. I mean, it's clear that you all love getting these deals. There's still a couple left from the Arkansas Stadium. There's still a few from Rock City Kitchen available as well. So coming up in the coming weeks, more from Wayback Burgers, more from Blaze Pizza, and so on. So make sure you're logging in. Usually Thursday mornings and Friday mornings at 9 a.m. is when those go live. So anyway, 501-403-KRN, 501-403-5276 to talk about things like the story out of New York. This is the weird story that I'm not hearing a whole lot of discussion about. Of course, the distraction of the political campaign, the debates and on all of that kind of stuff. But the New York Police Department and New York City government has got some weird stuff going on. So most recently, the latest update is that the New York City Police Department Commissioner, a guy by the name of Edward Caban or Caban, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, C-A-B-A-N, resigned today. And it comes only a week after his home was raided by federal agents, as in addition to the residences of a few other New York Police Department officials. And it's apparently all part of a corruption probe. And there's some connection apparently with Mayor Adams and some of his staff having connection to Chinese agents or Chinese spies or something going on. So there's this kind of weird conspiratorial story going on within the New York City Police Department and the New York City government, and I'm not hearing much about it at all on the news. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The obvious question for me is, clearly there's something weird going on there. Clearly they're dealing with some sort of corruption. The FBI has actually raided, like I said, the various homes of police commissioners and apparently the police commissioner's twin brother, who was a former New York City Police Department sergeant. He was also apparently served with a search warrant and a subpoena. And the FBI's counterterrorism group is involved, and there's just a lot of really kind of crazy stuff going on. Because the mayor actually announced today that one of the former FBI counterterrorism officials is going to be serving as the New York Police Department's interim commissioner. But one of the articles I read said something about the counterterrorism group was actually involved in some of the discussion because there was some potential links to this Chinese national in the mayor's office who was connected to some terrorist group or funding of some terrorist group or something like. And at this point, there's been so many reports and so many crazy twists and turns. It's almost impossible to sort out what's real, what's actually been verified, what's not been verified, what is just being alleged and all kinds of stuff. But it is clearly a very, very crazy story. And I'm not hearing much national attention by any of the national news outlets at all on this particular topic. So there's a couple of questions I have for you on this that I'd love to hear you weigh in on. Is, one of them being, do you care? Or is this, do you think it's maybe being blown out of proportion by the people that are actually reporting on it, and this is nothing more than, hey, this is typical big city politics, corruption abounds. It just so happens that these guys weren't as good at hiding it as others have been in the past. And so there's, this is a move along, nothing to see here kind of discussion. But yeah, it's just kind of a lot of weird stuff going on. And speaking of the FBI, apparently, Representative James Comer from Kentucky has sent a letter to the FBI requesting from the FBI to turn over documents related to the current governor of Minnesota and vice presidential nominee from Kamala Harris, to turn over some documents that link or apparently point out or document his link to a Chinese research institute that now is allegedly partnered with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is suspected to be the source of COVID-19. There is so much crazy going on in the media right now. There is, and not just in the media, like, and in that, oh, it's the mainstream media pushing it, but like the news. There's just so much crazy and so much weird going on. It almost feels like we are living in an edition or an episode of The Twilight Zone or some sort of, the latest copy of the Inquirer has exploded all over the news. It's the weirdest thing. And so I guess there's a lot of questions that rise up with this, but for me, and one of, like I said, the things I'd like to hear from you is, one, do you care? Or two, do you think this is all an intentional distraction to distract our attention away from what's going on in the presidential race, whether Kamala Harris is answering questions or not answering questions, doing press or not doing press, doing rallies or not doing rallies, all of that. Like, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in theories on why all of the crazy kind of exploding all over newsreels all across the country. So according to James Comer, he says, and I quote in the letter, he says, recent reports indicate Mr. Walz, while in Congress, helped secure over $2 million and pushed for a $5 million federal earmark for the Hormel Institute, which is a Minnesota-based medical research center with a history of working with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Comer wrote this to James Ray, and it says it goes on to say, quote, the Wuhan Institute of Virology is closely connected to the CCP and has been implicated in the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. Walz reportedly has made over 30 trips to China. So is this just the Republicans' attempt to smear Tim Walz? Or do you believe there's something there? I'm genuinely at a point where I don't know. I have read so much crazy and have seen so many conspiracy theories that I thought were the craziest things ever, and there's no way that could ever happen, that have all come true and have now been verified as not being conspiracy theories at all. And some of them very sinister and dark, others just simple and kind of everybody knows that's how things are. But where are you with all this, I guess, is the question. And that's where we're going to start today. And we'll kind of chase a few rabbit holes with this. But really, seriously, where are you today in the world of politics, in the world of news? Are you as flabbergasted and fatigued as I am with all of this? Are you as tired of talking about the crazy coming true as I am? I mean, I know it sounds kind of like I'm exposing my age, and I feel like I'm kind of being the guy that's yelling at kids to get off my lawn. But gosh, I yearn for a simpler time, as they say. Anyway, there's that and a whole lot more to get to as well today on the Schmidt Show. So we'll get to all of it as fast as we can. You're going to have to listen fast. It's News Radio 102.9 KRN. Good afternoon. It's News Radio 1029 KARN. I'm your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN, 501-403-5276. If you want to join the conversation, be a part of the discussion. Texter says, Kamala's going to get more votes than Trump. We're screwed. Of course, all the conspiracy theories are true. I listen to the radio telling me that Harris is ahead of Trump in the polls. Like him or not, you know it's BS. This is depressing. America's been taken over by communists without ever firing a shot. They did it through public and higher education. Everything I text you, I'm sure, is monitored and stored in a data center, and it probably has me on a list for a FEMA camp. Look, here's the thing, and I know some of that, what you said there was tongue-in-cheek, but the fact that all of that, true or not, is believable, right? That's where we're at. And I know I've said this many times before, and again, I feel like a broken record. But everything you've texted, not only here to me, but to anyone, is stored in a data center somewhere. We know that organizations like Verizon and T-Mobile and AT&T and all these various cell phone providers and internet providers and search engine companies, and we know that they're storing all of this information. They've admitted as much. And I want to believe, and generally I do, that Verizon, Google, Twitter, T-Mobile, whoever, they don't really care. They don't really care what political party you're voting for or not voting for. They don't really care what you're sending in a text message to your brother or what kind of racy pictures you're sending to your husband or your wife or whatever. They don't really care. They just want to track whatever they can through keyword searches and things like that, so they can then put that through their algorithm and know what ads to present you with for their advertisers. What I'm curious about in that, I guess, is how much of your shopping and the dollars that you spend are actually affected by that. So I play a few games on my phone. I've got one that's called Nonogram, and it's just like a numbers game. It's a kind of a mathematical, simple mathematical game. I like playing Sudoku, and a couple others, nothing crazy, but I get ads from them all the time. I don't think I could tell you off the top of my head what any of the ads that I've seen from any of those games are. So, I mean, is it really? Clearly it's valuable because, I mean, big data right now is where some of the greatest fortunes are being made. Is through data. And it's not just, we need your Social Security number and your driver's license number so we can steal your identity and open up fake loans. I mean, a lot of it's legitimate business. And using that data to focus advertising efforts in specific ways. I know that, for example, I have on my Amazon wish list, I have stuff that I have on that list simply because I saw it on some sort of social media ad and went, oh, that looks kind of cool. I'd like to have one of those one day. And so it some of it works, some of it clearly doesn't. So I would like to believe, and generally, like I said, generally I do believe that Google and Verizon and Microsoft and Twitter and Facebook and all of those, they're collecting data for no other reason than to just sell you whatever they want to sell you. And they're not even really selling you anything. They're just selling advertising to companies that want to sell you stuff. And they're making literal hundreds of billions of dollars in ad revenue from it. I mean, there are YouTubers and social media influencers, using my air quotes, that are making hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of dollars a year because of that. So, I mean, I'd like to believe, and I do generally believe it's mostly innocent, but knowing what I know about the way our government has behaved in the past, our intelligence agencies and federal law enforcement agencies, and the way they've behaved in the past, I have to believe that there is probably a sinister portion to this as well. And then, what do we do about that? That suddenly becomes an issue as well. Anyway, another texter, says they don't have to smear Tim Walz. He does a great job on his own. I think there's something to it. Oh, his connections with the Chinese government. Yeah, and look, I wouldn't even be surprised that the connections that he has to the Chinese government are innocent, except that he has bought into the Maoist ideology, the communist, Marxist, Maoist revolution ideology, which we know is a losing and dangerous ideology that is geared specifically for setting up long-term tyranny and oppression. And I don't want to be a part of that. So anyway, there's more to get to. We'll do it as we continue next on News Radio 102.9 KRN. Good afternoon. It is News Radio 1029 KARN. I'm your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN, 501-403-5276. If you want to join the conversation. One texter asks this as we were talking about, what do we do with all the crazy that seems to be going on? We've got pets and ducks and geese maybe being eaten in Springfield, Ohio. Allegedly, now there's the governor is sending state troops to Springfield, Ohio. Who knows if that's even true? I mean, I've seen it reported by a few reputable outlets, but again, at this point, it seems that nothing is believable, yet everything is believable. We've got all of the crazy going on in New York. We've got Kamala Harris. I mean, think about that in and of itself, right? Let's just set everything else crazy aside. Kamala Harris is the presidential nominee for the Democrat Party. Like, that statement alone is riddled with so much crazy that it shouldn't even be believable, much less true and accurate. We had a presidential nominee, a presumptive Democrat nominee, in the incumbent president until what, August? Late July? When he dropped out? That's never happened before. And then he announces his support an endorsement for Kamala Harris. Yesterday, that guy was wearing a MAGA hat and singing the "Don't Let 'Em Eat the Cats" song from TikTok. Like, I mean, if I didn't know better, I would say we're living in a Saturday Night Live episode. I mean, it is on a level of crazy. Yeah, but Texter says exactly, and Trump was supposed to be dead. Don't forget that. Yeah, we had an assassination attempt like that. Nobody even talks about that anymore. Someone attempted to assassinate the Republican candidate and former President Donald Trump. He was shot in the ear. That it is believed by many, if not a majority of people, that it was an inside job. And not just Donald Trump supporters. Like, there are people on the other side that believe it wasn't even a thing. It never even happened, that it was staged, that it was all faked. It was Hollywood special effects and blood capsules. Like, everything that is happening right now is like the craziest thing you've ever, like, just sit. I mean, seriously, I'm struggling to keep a straight face in this. Just think of what's gone on in the last 6 months in our country. Joe Biden, the sitting president of the United States, goes on national TV in June, does a debate, bombs so badly that his party abandons him. It is believed that they forced him out through some sort of secret internal coup and replaced him with Kamala Harris. And the Democrats are claiming that they are the party that is going to save democracy by running a candidate in their party that was coronated, not elected or selected by any sort of democratic process other than Joe said she's a good guy, or a good girl, I should say. Again, nowadays, add more crazy to it. Both of those statements could be true at any given moment. Because Kamala could come out and say, yeah, I decided I'm a man now. I'm not going to be the first woman president anymore. I'm going to start wearing suits and I'm a dude now. That's Mr. Kamala Harris to you now. I mean, that literally could happen. And if it did, we would all be told that it's perfectly normal. And if you have any problems or qualms or disagreements with it, you're a bigot, a hate monger, a xenophobe, a homophobe, a transphobe, a whatever a phobe. Like all of that could happen today. And no one would be surprised. Everybody would just go, yep, it's 2024. What did you expect? I mean, it is genuinely crazy. Let's go to Joanne in Risen. And Joanne, don't even start with me today.
Oh, come on. I know. You told me to listen fast. So I'm going to start with you because there's something in the middle that you probably have something to say about. We'll probably have something to say about everything I have something to say about. So I'm going to talk real fast since we have to listen real fast, and I want to hit on 4 things. Okay, now Tim Walz and the Chinese Communist Party, he might be involved in this, and when with the Wuhan lab of virology and all that stuff, but he's going to get out of it.
Right.
Because he'll just blame it all on bad grammar.
Oh, right, yeah, it's just bad grammar.
Bad grammar. And you know what? This is really liberating because I can come on the air, because, see, I came on the air before, and I could say, I never said that I dated that Arab.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it was just bad grammar.
Right, it's just bad grammar. And plus, I was an Arab magnet, Brad, and it's not my fault.
Well, and I mean, you could even blame your disability, right? I mean, you could say, well, I didn't know. I couldn't see him.
But I could hear him. You know, because, you know, they got that foreign and exotic accent that really gets to these young girls who are protesting, thinking they're going to get a husband that's a bearded goat herder. Anyway,
I thought they were hoping for the rich oil baron.
Oh, they don't care just so long as it's a man, because they don't really know what a real man is like. Anyway, one more thing, Brad. I want to touch on how old you have to be to get off.
To shout, get off your lawn?
Yes. You know, I haven't thought of the age yet because I don't think it matters, but we need to put a condition on that.
Yeah. So I have arbitrarily placed it at age 50 because I'm not 50 yet.
Okay, good. Oh, you young thing.
Yeah.
A condition on this is that you have, before you can tell somebody to get off of your lawn, you have to be able to find your own way off your own lawn.
There you go. See, if you can't get off your own lawn, then I agree.
Get off your own lawn, just forget it.
Well said, Joanne. Well said. As always, I love it. Love chatting with you. Have a great afternoon. 501-403-KRN, 501-403-5276. I was going to try and get Mark in, but I'm going to be late for the break. So Mark in England, stick with me. We'll get to you in just a few moments here on News Radio 102.9 KRN.